Well, welcome back, folks. We're still sitting with Q, and he's put his head up now, so that's fantastic. He's definitely shown those telltale signs of movement. He's started to yawn, and it's a thing you often see with big cats. Lions do it as well. They sort of sit up and they do a few yawns, and they just sort of do that normally before they start to get active. But he's in a really lovely position here just to sit. If he's patient, he might have the opportunity to have an impala or a kudu, young kudu or something come down close to the water point here, and you never know what could happen. But he's still just pretty chilled, sitting nice and quiet and just still panting. You can see how hot he is still. Lovely to talk to you, Mary in Missouri. Welcome aboard, and thank you so much for your question. Mary wants to know, oh, look at that beautiful big yawn. I'll just quickly have a chat and then we'll go back to something much more beautiful, quarantine, or Q as he's known now. Mary, we're sitting on the sort of western edge of Buffelshoek Dam, or Buffelshoek Dam. We've had many an encounter up here. Back in November we had quite an incredible encounter with wild dog hunting an impala, some people may remember, and there's been loads and loads of other sightings here. I saw that beautiful setting with Scotty when he had all those buffalo in here, 200 or 300 here. So it's a very, very popular water point. The water's pretty much the same level as when I was here in November. Might be a little bit lower, but it's a very, very popular water point for a lot of animals to come down to. But I can keep talking whilst we look more at this beautiful cat, and if we just sit with him long enough, we know that, and most people know that leopards are very opportunistic, as are most of the cats, but he's particularly in a good position there in this really, really lovely sort of little covered area where a lot of animals approaching from the other side there would not know he's even there. So he's picked that spot for many reasons probably, and I can't be too sort of anthropomorphic, I suppose, is that word, that big word that people say sometimes, meaning, you know, giving animals human-like qualities. But I suppose we just try and put two and two together when we see animals behave the way they do. And where he was on the other side of the dam when we left him this morning was much, much more humid and hot than it is over here, as I mentioned before. So he's got that cool breeze coming off the water, and he's also got a lovely little hollow to hide in here and wait for an opportunity. And as most of you also know, stealth is and the ambush is the key element to the success of a leopard hunt. And he can get up to speeds of about 60 kilometers an hour. I've just got to try and do a little conversion on that. 60 kilometers an hour in my head is, here he's getting up now. I'll have to come back to that, folks. Nice stretch. He's just walking right in front of the vehicle now. Oh, look at him. Wow, how close is this? Have a look at this, folks. That is magnificent. That is magnificent. Walked right in front of our vehicles. Just had a look at us. Have a look up at the spinal column of him there. He's definitely on the move. Up that spinal column, you see what Brent was referring to as the landing strip. They're definitely going to stick with this boy. So we're sort of in a position at the moment, folks, where the other game-driven vehicles aren't out. So as soon as 4 o'clock hits, I will call into everybody and let them know where we are, and just just to bring some other people in on this beautiful cat like they did for us this morning. And that's what it's all about. As I always say, it's about sharing these beautiful encounters with the other guides and having a really great code of conduct. We don't have any more than 3 vehicles on the animal at one time or around the animal. Keeping a nice distance from him. We've got him really, really good. He's in a nice ambling pace through there. And you know what? A lot of animals, I often see it with lions, I see it with leopards, I see it with elephant as well. They like walking on the road. It's a nice soft way of getting through on the sand, just to follow these pathways. And sometimes the pathways will actually end up being an expansion of an original hoofed animal track, or sort of sometimes an elephant superhighway in some parts of Africa. It's the most efficient, normally the most efficient and effective way of getting to a water point or from A to B. And human beings have adapted those trails. Humans might have started to use it, then vehicles might have started to use it wider and wider. Not all the roads, but some of these roads may have been like that. I tell you what, folks, for day one for me and Andrew, this is a piece of gold. It really is. Have a look at just, it's really hard. I don't want to get up too close to him and disturb him, of course, but right on the middle of his spine there, Andrew, it's just on that, dead on his spine, at the base of his tail there, is that landing strip, those parallel dots, or those little rosettes, or black spots there. And it's one of the markings I've always loved about this cat. And you just pick something on the leopard that you, he's really looking for something at the moment. And again, folks, always mentioning to you that these leopards and lions are so habituated to the vehicles. We don't disturb them. We would never intrude on their space when it came to a hunt or anything like that. We just stay. Definitely seen something there. Now you will see the behaviour here. See the behaviour change and the body position change as well. He's lowered himself to the ground a little bit. Definitely picked up something in here. It's unfortunately, it's absolutely thick as thick. But I tell you, I'm definitely going in, that's for sure. Oh goodness, he's just there. He was stalking a couple of francolin then. And they made a very, very close, very quick escape. That just goes to show you, you know, opportunity arises. Francolin, crickets, lizards, young zebra, young wildebeest, impala. There's even been encounters of leopard taking down young giraffe. And this is why they are the most adaptable, non-specialised cat. They're so incredibly adapted to eating anything they possibly can, and that's why they fit into so many different niches and habitats in Africa and Asia for that matter. I've been very, very fortunate to see an Asiatic leopard in a place called Kana National Park, and he was travelling through in India, travelling through a communal area. First thing in the morning, we're heading out to find tigers, and he just cruised straight through a village and straight into the national park. And a beautiful cat, it's just as beautiful as the African cousins. Keeping a nice distance from him here. So Hi Philip, fantastic to have you on board. Philip in West Virginia has just asked a very good question, as well as what's the weight, or my estimation of the weight of quarantine. Quarantine's about 2.5 years old, so he's got a few years to get to full size. Obviously there's a very, very slim or slight genetic variance. Some animals get a little bit bigger than others, but generally speaking, 65 kilograms would be his adult weight. But I think Will Fox is on our team, who works with leopards a lot. He's definitely seen leopards heavier than that, and they will get a little bit bigger and heavier than 65. But I reckon he's probably in the sort of 40s at the moment, maybe 40-ish kilograms, about half of my body weight. To answer your question, maybe about mid-40s, I'd say, for him, kilograms. And I have to convert that to pounds for you as well. So that's 45.90, about 100 pound, I'd say, roughly, at the moment. Just gently following behind him at the moment. He'll walk along this road until he sees something that attracts his attention. Do, folks, I think I'm just going to sit with Q for a bit, and I'll definitely come back to you as soon as anything happens. Ellie's with some Pieters at the moment. Pieter's with some elephant at the moment. So let's quickly cross over to him and see what he's up to, and then I'll come right back to you. I'll see you just now.
Well, guys, I would just watch the road if I was you. No, she stopped before she crossed the road. Guys, we found a beautiful little breeding herd of elephants down at Treehouse Dam. And this cow just minutes ago walked past us within about 2-3 feet in front of the vehicle just to have a look at us. The rest of the breeding herd has gone further around the back, but she sort of stayed on this side. We've just moved to get sort of closer to them again. You can see just by looking at her, and you'll see the other ones now when we get closer to them. Let me just go a bit forward. As we get closer to them, you'll see they've all got sort of light and dark patches, mainly dark patches on them. And that's because it is quite hot. This afternoon we've got that sort of beautiful early autumn but still summer weather. It's sort of high 20s, low 30s. Here around the 80s or so Fahrenheit. And they would have gone for a nice swim. Just to cool down, they really don't have as many problems, or problems as much as buffalo and things like that with exoparasites. So ticks and fleas don't bother elephants as much. They've got very thick hides. They also very intelligent animals with long trunks and the ability to clean themselves, maybe in more or in different ways. But this mud bathing really is a fantastic way to cool down. Unlike us, when we get hot we start sweating and the wind blows across the sweat and that evaporation cools you down. Elephants and actually most animals don't really sweat. So when elephants get hot, they must make another plan, and flapping their ears is a very important part. It works a little bit like a radiator in a car in sort of broad strokes. Standing in the shade would be one, and certainly going and spraying nice cool mud on yourself is another one. So these guys have been having a cool afternoon mud bath just before we got to them. But we're going to stick with them a bit. Typically what they do after something like that is they're spreading out a little bit now. They're sort of fanning out and starting to feed. We're going to have a look at them. I just want to see, Game Drive was trying to call me. I just want to see if they can hear me. Good afternoon stations. Last station, can you copy me? You looking for Pieter? Guys, if you can copy me, there's a small ambient law via Treehouse Dam heading west along the northern track. I'll go a bit more forward and we'll wait in front of them. It's always nice to wait for them to come towards you, and then they've got enough space to do what they want as well. If they want to go further around you, they can. If they want to come close and have a look because they're curious, they can. Just going to give them a bit of space. Guys, what I was doing just there on the radio, just so you know, especially for those of you that maybe have not been on many drives, is there's other game drives out as well from the lodges that are doing the same thing as we are, and we all work together. We give each other information, what's where, tracks, animals, elephant sighting, let the guys know. They want to show the guest elephants, they know we've got elephants here. Tomorrow they maybe find a lion and we get the benefit of that again. So good to work together with the guys. This is the same female that we looked at just now. She's got that little sort of finger-shaped notch in the bottom third of her ear. And I think she's the matriarch in the herd. There's one other cow in this herd that's similar size, but just from the behavior, this would be the matriarch or maybe the second in charge. We often have that with elephant. In these herds, you've got the matriarch or the leader, which is a female, normally the oldest cow. And then you'll most of the time have like a sergeant major, like a second in charge, and that will often be the elephant that does a lot of the sort of telling the group where to go and sort of keeping the youngsters in check or chasing away a threat. It's not always just the matriarch that does that. If you bear with us a little bit, they are moving through a lot of brush now, but if they keep moving at this pace, it won't be very long. Actually, Brian, have a look at this quickly, just while it's popped out, just in the ground in front there.
Where about?
Just there. Just there. Hey! It looks like a youngster, actually. It's a dwarf mongoose, but it's also not an adult one. It's still a young dwarf mongoose. So it's a small dwarf mongoose. Great little guy. So you don't often see them. And they're coming out to look at the elephant as well. This elephant just moving through here would have disturbed some insects, some things that they might catch and have a look at. And I think that young mongoose was probably just looking at the elephant because it's interesting. So what I was saying is these elephants are moving, and if they keep moving at this pace, they are getting to more open ground probably in the next 5 minutes or so. So we're just going to stick with them, sort of move alongside them. At the same time, they're getting used to us. They're seeing our intention is not threatening. We're not here to bother them. We're not forcing ourselves into their space. We're just sort of allowing them to do what they do, while at the same time being a bit curious. And especially with the elephant, the big cats, once they get habituated or once they get used to vehicle presence, they sort of often just ignore you. With a leopard, you often get the feeling that they really don't care if you're there or not. But with elephants, even if they know vehicles well, because they are, much more socially structured within the herd like this, because there's babies and mothers, and who knows, maybe there was a little sort of argument in the herd earlier, or one of them has got a sore foot. You never know what's going on in the group. You have to just introduce yourself to them slightly and get them some time to get used to our presence as well. And then you'll often be amazed at what happens. I mean, quite often then, once they've seen that you're not there to bother them, you might have all kinds of things happening. Little babies coming up to the vehicle to have a sniff and see what it's about. And so, but it is just important that you allow them that space to get comfortable with us as well. very often you have to do the same thing for guests in the vehicle. Many people get very nervous around elephants, understandably so. They are the largest land mammal on Earth. Even that young elephant we're looking at there, that's a couple of years old. That would probably weigh about the same as a, I'm guessing, yeah, probably the same as a black rhino already. Buffalo, 900 kilograms, 800 kilograms. That's about 1,760 pounds, give or take. 1,600, 1,700 pounds. Big elephants, big bull elephants can weigh 6-7 tons. There has been bigger. If someone can look that up for me or can remember. I remember some years ago I asked this question, and the answer was really great. And this is, when I say some years, I mean 7-8 years ago. And I asked if someone can find out for me, what's the biggest recorded elephant in history? And if I remember correctly, it was an elephant bull that was hunted in Angola, in the highlands in Angola, which is north of Namibia. And I think it was in 1976, and I only think that because that's the year I was born in, and I remember there was some kind of connection to a year. And the weight was something phenomenal, and again, I don't want to remember incorrectly, so if someone can find that for me, but I want to say it was over 10 tons, so over 20,000 pounds. If you can send that information through to me, I'd love to get the exact facts on that again, because I remember I was fascinated by that little snippet of information. And we're just going to sit, I think right here is not a bad place. Got a couple of elephants on our right, well 3 to be specific. We've got another 1-2 youngsters there, another teenager coming up further left. In fact, that's quite a young one there. That's the smallest one in the herd. Like all young animals, baby elephants are just the cutest. And once they relax with your presence, they can be a lot of fun as well. They can really get playful with other elephants, with other things. I've seen baby elephants play with sticks and stones and birds on the edge of the water, geese, all kinds of things. So we'll see what this one gets up to. Guys, so they're getting more and more comfortable with us now. Great, we've got a question from Illinois, from Jackie. Hello Jackie, Jackie's the teacher. It's an 8th grade class. 8th grade, that could be about, what you guys are about, what, 14, something like that. So it's always really cool to have classes on drive as well. And I always like to commend the teacher, Jackie. Awesome taking your class on this experience. Thank you very much for allowing the kids to join us here in Africa for a little bit. Take a break out of other school activities and just learn and see and have fun with us. Jackie's class is asking, how long will a baby elephant stay with its mother? Now, let's get a couple of answers there in your class, Jackie. What do the kids think? And let's get 2 different answers. Let's get an answer for male elephants, so for young bulls, and an answer for female elephants, or young cows. Because the answer is quite different in those 2 respects. Just as a little footnote, Illinois is quite a cool place. I've been to Illinois many years ago. All over the place, but I lived in Champaign for a while at the University of Illinois. A friend of mine was playing tennis there. That's many years ago, and I still played serious tennis. So I've actually been to your state, guys. So Jackie, if you've had a few answers from the class, here's my answer, and you guys have to tell me if you think it's right. Let's start with bull elephants, or young bulls, young males. They stay, it depends a little bit, but let's say similar to humans in a way, until they reach, you could say puberty if you want to compare it to humans, 12, 14, 16. It depends a little bit of the dynamics in the elephant population, how many elephants, how much pressure from other bulls. So we're going to go right around the front and then sit. They've spread out really beautifully now. They're very relaxed with us. They've accepted our presence now. So I want to find a spot where we can just sit and wait for them to come onto us, and you can see them sort of walking towards us. So young bulls leave the herd, and it's not leave like once. It's not like one morning they wake up and the matriarch goes, okay, that's it, John, take your bags and go. It's a gradual process. They start living on the periphery of the group. They start getting a bit of pressure from the adult females. They start to meet other bull elephants, which is important. They start to meet the big guys that are independent already. In other words, they're starting to get to know their future peers. The road is just there, huh? I think. Let's just go around to the road. I think we can actually wait for them on the road. So 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 at the oldest. Then the bulls are separate from the herd. They will still meet back with herds again, maybe even with their maternal herds. But they go off and they do their own thing. They live in bachelor groups and so on. The females, and I'm wondering if any of you guys in the class got this one right. You could potentially say a young female calf or a young cow will stay with her mother for the rest of her life. And that's quite cool. And elephants, in building up to Mother's Day, Sunday in the week, these are one of the animals that when you talk about mothers, there's so much to learn from elephants and so much to celebrate with elephants, in the sense that they have these amazing family structures where a matriarch can often have her female offspring, her daughters, live with her for the rest of her life. If the herd gets too big, sometimes you see these amazing footage or pictures of massive herds. Pieter, who's an amazing photographer, has got these epic photographs of hundreds, even of thousands of elephants in groups. Now within those dynamics, or within those big groups, you will have a matriarch and often other herds that are related to her, meaning one herd might be led by matriarch A and the second herd might be led by matriarch B, but this might actually have been a daughter of matriarch A. So they do spend, for practical purpose, not always, but often, the rest of their lives together in the case of female elephants. So there really is a very, very strong maternal and female bond within the herd. Here's that youngster we talked about, the little one. I think we're going to sit here by the marula tree and wait for them to walk onto us. And in that time, we're going to answer a couple more questions. And if someone could find that little snippet of information about the biggest elephant ever, I'd love to get that from someone. Please let me know. Okay. Almost just past here. Alright, let's sit here for a bit. Well, while we're looking at this herd, great question from Dallas, Texas. Hello, Grace. Nice to have you in the vehicle with us. Grace is just asking if there's any way of telling how many herds of elephant are in the Sabi Sands. Grace, well, at any given time, yes. If you were to do an animal count or a census, which they do sometimes, aerial counts, you could say, well, in the last 48 hours or so, we counted so many elephants. Look at this guy coming up to us. One of the youngsters coming to have a little investigative look at us. Eating, of course, doing something. Especially the younger ones, they sort of pretend to be doing something while a lot of it might actually just be curiosity. Grace, but the thing with elephants is they roam far and wide. They don't really have specific territory. So it's not like gorilla, the leopard that we were looking for earlier, hopefully we'll find later. Or it's not like the lion prides we get here that stay in a certain area. Elephants roam far and wide. And even though they have certain home ranges they like, in other words, you get to know certain bulls like certain waterholes, they potentially go anywhere and everywhere. So all the elephants in Sabi Sands potentially could be in Kruger at some stage, and all the elephants in Kruger potentially could be in Sabi Sands at some stage. So we are talking about, thousands of elephants. Young elephant, nice and muddy still from the mud bath earlier. You can see those tusks just poking out. Hello, good afternoon. Yes, we're very afraid of your intimidating head-shaped young male. This is a young bull, probably about, always difficult for me to guess exactly, but I'd say around 10 years old maybe. 9, 10 in that range. Within the next 2 years or so, you'll start getting the first sort of initial sort of gentle pushes, if you want, from the grown-ups in the herd to start finding his sort of independence. But that's still a ways off. This is another youngster. When you're 3 years old, there's the small one in the back. Guys are looking right behind us. Brian looks a bit like a cook sister. Wouldn't make sense to most of you. It's this delicatessen sort of a sweet that we eat in South Africa. That's this sort of like a, what do they call it in America? You get something similar, like a pretzel. but in a long way. Not in a tied way, more in like a twisted way. So we're going to unwind Brian here. Those elephants have passed right behind us, and they are going to the road, so we should see even more of them. Unless, of course, something else happens. HT is out there as well, as you know, if you've been joining us for the drive. He's had a leopard. If you've maybe just joined us in the last few minutes, guys, we're live in the African bush here at Juma Game Reserve. My name's Pieter Pretorius. I'm very happy to be back here in the seat of my favorite Land Rover in the world, the Jigga. And it's a beautiful afternoon. Not too hot, pretty hot, but we've got a little bit of cloud just blocking the sun now. We're getting into that golden part of the afternoon when anything and all the magic happens. There were lions around, there's been leopard around, we've got a breeding herd of elephants, there's a couple of buffaloes around, so at any stage we might find something else. Hayden might suddenly have activity with a leopard, so brace yourself for an exciting afternoon in the bush. If you have any questions, maybe, what are we doing, who are we, where are we, or if you've been on many drives and you have specific questions about elephants maybe, you can send them through to us one of two ways. questions@wildearth.tv, that's if you want to email questions@wildearth.tv, or look at this beautiful look. I love elephants and I particularly love these youngsters. Or you can also tweet questions if you want, #SafariLive. I love how they've relaxed with us now. And what's beautiful with these young elephants is they have to learn things just like us. They are born and then they grow up and they have to learn coordination and balance. They have to learn to walk. They have to learn to use their trunks. They also have to learn behavior and what they can eat and what they can't eat. How to shake their head and intimidate a vehicle if they want to scare them, like this guy was doing now. Ooh, there we go. You should look at that. Wow! Isn't that just beautiful? And guys, look at the behavior in the back. The other elephants, they're just eating their food, nice and relaxed. That shows you that they're properly relaxed. Elephants communicate most of the sound we don't even hear. 2/3 of what elephants say to each other we can't hear. It's too low frequency. So if there was any stress in this herd, firstly, they wouldn't be spread out all over the place. We've got elephants to our left, we've got elephants to our right. They're all relaxed, they're all feeding, doing their thing. And in that, they are so relaxed that this youngster had the courage to come and give us a vicious mock charge and try and show us how big and how fierce he is. And that I just love, when you can work your way into a herd like this to a point where they totally have accepted our presence now and they're going about their business. And not only that, they're also curious about us. Keep in mind, we're dealing here with what's considered the most intelligent land animal after humans. I know a few people might not agree, but in general they're considered even more intelligent than chimps, gorillas, orangutans. I sometimes want to put humans in that list for a laugh. Only animal that are considered more intelligent than this still are dolphins. So within this, you must realize that these are not just the sort of dumb animals walking around. There's highly evolved social structures, great intelligence, great sensitivity to the environment, and that's why it's such a special thing for me to have experienced what we just did with this youngster here. This little guy just testing his first sort of fierce mock charge with us. Alright, let's go with him a little bit more. Guys, these elephants are going into slightly thicker stuff again. We're going to stick with them and see where they go, but the visuals aren't going to be great. I think we've just experienced that moment of magic. I was really hoping to have a little special moment with one of them, and how awesome was it that it was the smallest one in the herd. So we're going to stay with them, see what else comes up. I want to go back to quarantine later on. Just a quick thank you, and I apologize, that was mentioned to me a few minutes back and I forgot the names. It was Jan and Jen. Dan and Jen.
Something like that.
They'll help me again just now. Guys, you were the first to come to the info, the biggest. Dylan and Jen, thank you very much. Dylan and Jen, as well as many others of you, thank you so much. The biggest elephant ever recorded was 27,000 pounds. That is 13, it's about 12,500 kilograms, 12.5 tons. That is just phenomenal. That is 6 jiggers. Massive, massive elephant, 13 feet tall. We'll get some more of the information later on when it was and so on. But thank you very much Dylan and everyone else for sending that information. As I said, elephants are going to the thick stuff. HT is with a leopard. Go have a look there.